Hi everyone, Chris Petri here. Let's talk about drawing today in contour drawing. As watercolor artists, we are constantly trying to improve our drawing. Drawing skills are definitely a must. And I was actually thinking this week, hey, what are the really? There's two main there's really two main parts to watercolor painting. There's the drawing, and then there's the painting. So really, when we think about it, we can say really we're looking at drawing first, and then once we're done drawing, then we're painting as watercolor artists. So really, it comes down to just those are our two primary focus points in watercolor. If we're watercolor artists and um, we're going along and we're saying, okay, we have to improve our skills as a watercolor artist. How are we going to do that? Well, we're just going to really focus on two things: drawing and painting. And so we put our time in on each of those two items. We're going to be in really good shape. And um, I think drawing is sort of sometimes it's not everyone likes to draw or is excited about drawing as some other people. So if you find that you're not so excited about drawing, I found that sometimes I wasn't so excited about drawing because it can be frustrating. Things don't come out so good, and then it's like that's why I think a lot of people don't like to draw actually. But I think the more you work on your drawing, you're going to find you're going to enjoy it more and have more fun with it. And I also found like when I started drawing a lot and I wasn't sometimes so happy with my progress, I tried to do different, things like I would use Sharpies to draw with sometimes. And there's the small versions of the Sharpies, the real fine point ones, and pens. You can draw with pens and pencils. And so there's all kinds of great things you can draw with crayons, crayon pencils. There's inks. I've drawn with the Sumi inks and the reed pens like this. You'll see some of my videos. I draw with the Sumi ink, and the reed pens. So I tried to change up a lot of different things. I tend to find that changing the approach sometimes to something, if it's not going the greatest or if it's just not interesting, it can be more interesting just to change the type of thing we're using to draw with. So if we're doing a ton of drawing with our pencil and we get a little tired of our pencil, hey, let's try a Sharpie, or let's try just an office pen, a desk pen from our office, or from our a school pencil, whatever it is. And we'll find that it might just be something that sparks us to just have a little more interest in continuing to practice at it. So I thought today we would just kind of practice a little bit on contour drawing, and I had a few items I thought we could try. These are things you probably have around in your house. If you're a watercolor artist, you probably have a spritzer bottle. There's different kinds of spritzer bottles. There's the clear ones. There's these stainless steel ones here. So I have different ones around the studio here. So I'll put this one up across me on the shelf across me at eye level. So basically the shelf that I'm putting this on is at eye level. So this won't have any complex angles or anything. Versus if I sat this down on the table, I'm standing at a table here, an art table, and if I put this here like so, that's going to be a little more challenging of a drawing, let's say. So here we're looking at, if I was to draw it like this, contour drawing it like this, it would be more challenging, but we would start off with like a circle at the top. Then I would carefully just keep following things around. So I'm kind of just carefully looking at each of the, like if I start with this circle, which is the very top circle of the spritzer bottle, then everything that I do from this point, I'm going to be kind of referring back to this first circle, and I'm saying, okay, here's my first circle up here. Basically, it's again, if we think of it just as shapes and not so much a spritzer bottle, if we just say, you know what, this is just really shapes. These are really all circles here we're looking at. So at the top here, we're looking at circles, and this is the first circle, and then we come down and there's another circle here, and then another one up here, and then I start to think as I'm drawing, I'm just looking at it and going back and forth and looking at it and saying, okay, where does this circle here with those fine lines on it, where does that start? Well, it starts about right at the top of this first circle I drew, and then I just keep going from there. And this is much like just circles again. And pretty much these are like a clock dial or a watch dial. So those little lines are going to follow the same way the hash marks on a clock or a watch dial would go. So I just kind of know that these are all going to follow that same kind of idea. Then here we have and I'm looking here and I'm kind of seeing that it's straight from here like that. Then I'm looking here and this one kind of starts there. Then this one is sort of not a definite line, but this one here starts about there. And then we can go all right, so that's sort of a pretty complex drawing of this. I can already see that I went too far down with the container, I'm thinking a little bit. But overall, I'm pretty happy that that's somewhat of what I'm seeing here. So again, that's contour drawing at its basics, just following the contour of what our subject matter, and then carefully going as we draw and following the angles and the lines of the subject. So here now I'm going to start up here and sometimes I draw through things. That's a technique, drawing through our subject matter sometimes, so that we get the accuracy of the angles. And okay, and then a little bit more fun there, just having some fun doing some lines in the top. Okay, so that's and then the shelf up top. Okay, so that's pretty fun. That's the spritzer bottle. Not 100% accurate, but I'm just warming up too. You warm up as you go. So as you contour draw, you'll always warm up. You'll find like your first 10 minutes or 15 minutes is going to be a little more, you'll be dusty, so to speak, or rusty a little bit with your drawing. But then as you go, you'll get better at it. Like so, by the time by half an hour, you'll be seeing things a little better, a little more accurately. We could try a pencil now. Let's see, we did a Sharpie, we could use a pencil. Maybe we'll do a retractable pencil here. Okay, so this is a simple retractable pencil. And maybe we'll do let's see here, what can we do? Okay, let's do a salt shaker. I have a salt shaker here I brought from the kitchen. Let's see where that is. There it is. Okay, so this is the salt shaker. I'm gonna got this from the dining room. I'll put this up on the shelf. Again, it's going to be at eye level, so no real complicated angles here. When you start out contour drawing, if you want to stick with just eye level or simple shapes and things, you can do it that way. And then when you get warmed up, then you can start moving things and changing angles and maybe set it down on top of the table. Try to draw it, with the shadow and so forth. But again, this is just a way to practice our drawing skills as watercolor artists. Does it make sense? We should try to at least practice our drawing skills once a day for maybe 10-15 minutes, sort of like a guitar player or a piano player. They're going to sit down and practice their skills maybe 15-20 minutes every day, just to keep their self limber and keep them keep their skill sharp. So the same thing as a watercolor artist here. We want to keep our skills sharp. So we're going to try to just draw maybe every day a little bit. 10, 15 minutes is all you need. You do a couple contour drawings every day, and you'll find that it's gonna become easier and easier. So I always say, 10 or 15 minutes every day is perfect. If you can do more, great. Or if you can just do it on the weekends for half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour, then that's fine too. I guess everyone has different schedules, and not everyone can always make time every day to do drawing. But it's a great thing if you can do it every day. All the more better. Okay, now as an artist, you'll find that definitely the repetition helps a lot. So if you can do the same things too, does that make sense? Repetition of the same objects. So if you have like a salt shaker or a spritzer bottle, do it many times. Practice it over and over again. Repetition of that same subject matter is gonna become more familiar to you, and you'll be able to kind of get more comfortable with it, and you'll be able to draw a lot easier. So maybe if you draw this 10 or 15 times, and this 10 or 15 times, then eventually it'll be so simple you can sit down and almost do it blindfolded. And so we're going to try our salt shaker now. I'll put this up at eye level across from me, and we'll try this. We'll use a pencil this time. We'll use the Sharpie for our first drawing. Again, if you get bored with contour drawing, change your maybe use a pen if you want. There's crayons. There's like these, the crayons they have at the art stores. You can get them, or online. These are pretty interesting. Maybe I'll zoom in here a little bit too. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll do the salt shaker here. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm checking my angle and saying, yeah, that looks pretty good. That's about the angle that is. And then we go up like so. I'm going to go across. Okay, now I'm checking my angle. Now I'm saying, okay, that's about right. I'm across from that other side of the salt shaker. It's almost like a division line on the salt shaker across the middle. So I stop here and make my dot here, and just kind of until I feel like I'm just at the right spot, and make those couple dots. Then I say that looks pretty good. Then I come down here and I come across, and then I'm going to make the top of the shelf there. Then I'll come up here and I'm going to do the top of the salt shaker here. That's the part that's chrome, and then there's the chrome top of the salt shaker there. Okay, that looks all right. And then we'll do the salt shaker has those, you probably saw that when I showed you the salt shaker has those like has those lines to make it more interesting. The salt shaker, when they make the glass, they cut the glass and they make it different shapes for more interesting look. So that's pretty much the salt shaker, and then we can always do a little shading with our pencil. So the light's coming from this side over here, so I'm just shading so shading is a part too when we're contour drawing. Once we're done contour drawing, we can do a little shading, and you can concentrate and look at the light, how the light's looking on the object, whatever we're drawing. And then we can just continue shading it. Okay, so I encourage everybody to try doing some contour drawing once a day. If you can do it, that's great, for like 15 minutes, and even up your time if you have more time, and you can do maybe a half an hour or even an hour, whatever you can afford to do per day. But if you can get your contour drawing practice, daily if you can, and make it easy for yourself. Leave a pad and paper in your car. Maybe at lunchtime in the office, if you work in an office, let's say, you can leave a pad of paper there and some pencils and so forth, and have fun.